Alright guys, we're here looking at another video analysis with it's a range day with US Marines at Camp Lejeune. So let's check it out. You know, this is where they distribute out the ammo, right? So free ammo is is always good.
Piece, 9 boxes a piece.
Alright, so 9 boxes. What's the math on that? 9 times 20. So that's 180 rounds, right? It's 180 rounds per person. Alright, so the purpose of this video is we're going to look at some of the training from these US Marines. It's a modern video from this past year in March. Let's watch some of their drills. Alright, my first kind of perspective on this is generally military isn't the most efficient in time. So you're spending a lot of time getting ready, getting prepped up, staging up. It's just a waste of time. I always recommend to try to make your training as efficient as possible. That way you're not wasting time. That way you're maximizing your ability to train, analyze your targets, do reps, and things like that.
Hey, deliberate load.
All right, deliberate load, what does that mean? I mean, for me, that means that you are loading the weapon system properly and then verifying that it is loaded. You know, you can do that two ways. You can put the mag in, let the bolt go forward, take the mag out, and see if the bullet has switched sides, which means one has been chambered. I'm a fan of the chamber check, brass check. And then getting used to being able to do that if you're in a low light, no light condition, which is tactile touch. So the mag, using the mag and checking the top bullet is another way you can do it when you have low light or no light. For here, right, so what I'm going to say is take the rifle and point the mag well straight to the left. Have the rifle basically rotated a little bit more clockwise, and then get the habit of driving the stock and everything, and the buffer down below the bicep, so that way you really pin the rifle. Why this is important is so you can reload on the move. These are long guns with this long suppressor, but you do want to kind of angle the gun out a little bit so the front is more in your eye line. That way you can push it out on target after you reload. But this is kind of administrative, right? Which means you're just preparing to shoot a drill, you're preparing to leave the house. It's not like active, like an emergency reactive reload. This is a proactive reload where you're preparing the gun to be used. Gonna push pull. Looks pretty smooth, well worn in, right? You can tell a gun's well worn in, or if it's got a nice amount of lube, just the way it racks. Right? I do like the paint setups of these guns. I imagine these are heavy as fuck. Right, they look good. Bipods, grip, laser, LPVO, iron sights, suppressor. This is gonna be a heavy motherfucking gun, and while it's all cool, like, heavy sucks. It starts sucking real quick. Alright, this guy, I feel like, I don't know if it's because of his equipment, but he feels like he's really high on his bipod. However, he is pushing forward into it, right, which is good, right? You want to have a forward lean, put your weight into the front of the rifle. Right, that way when it recoils, it's pushing against your body and not really moving. You can take repeatable shots. I like the paint scheme. You got the dummy cords. Probably do something with this little hole right here. Right, so the gun didn't move too much when he shot there. Alright, so he's got it pulled in his shoulder. Pushing it forward on that bipod is really allowing it not to move.
6 rounds. Shooters, stand by. Threat!
Alright, so you saw that? Head moves down a bunch, gun moves up. right? This is a lot of movement to try to get behind this LPVO, which is already going to have an eye relief, right? Especially at close range. And then your gun is moving up, your head is moving down. That's a lot. Oh, that's a lot to do at one time. Right. So if this is a shooting position, so be it. Be here and then bring the rifle up to the eye to shoot. Right. I will say he's leaned back quite a bit. Try the hips forward a little bit. Blade the upper body a little bit more. Position's pretty good. I could say top of stock is okay. Let's watch him shoot. I'm going to probably say he needs to pull it in tighter just from this. You see all that movement, all that play? Pull the rifle in, stiffen the shoulder, or if you can drive the shoulder forwards. But when you do that, you have to be consistent in how much you drive it forwards. Because it can push the gun off target if you're inconsistent with it. But pulling in tighter.
Shooters stand by.
Now he's got it angled like he's canted over like this. When I go in a low ready, I like to have my gun vertical, so that way it just goes straight up to the eye. This is not only is he moving his head, but he's moving the rifle and twisting it while he's moving it up. So that causes that delay. He's gonna get a lot of movement. I do like the paint job of the stuff. I always like the aesthetic. Aesthetic. Alright, the hand slapping thing. This is like a Marine Corps thing. And it's like, oh, it's a gross motor movement. Whatever bullshit. Look, if you can pull the trigger, if you can manipulate the safety, if you can do all this other shit, you can fucking press a little pedal inside. It's harder when you're wearing gloves, but I've seen so many times dudes go to slap the side of the gun and they do it with the concave part of their palm and they totally miss it, end up slapping the rifle. Not only that, but you're slapping the rifle off center, right? And you've got to bring it back. This extra movement. What I noticed with this guy is he's super choked up. I get it that you have an ACOG, right? But this guy, and we're going to see him later, he's kind of tall. He needs to lock this thing out and really just drive his head forwards to get the eye relief. And he's holding it very loosely in the shoulder. Let's watch. So he's just got the toe in the shoulder, right? And a lot of guys do that to bring the optic up or whatever. But you really want all this in the shoulder, against the bone of the shoulder here. Otherwise, it's going to have a lot of play. There's nothing really preventing it from moving. And then having it up in the shoulder while you reload, right? You can do that if you're behind cover. I would never do it out in the open. I would tuck that bitch and then run. And then again, he does a hand slap. I'm not a fan of that. Looks cool, like there's a vibe to it, but it really practically it's not as efficient as just using your thumb. Alright, see all that play in the gun? And there's that tall guy I was talking about earlier. There's a lot of play in the gun as far as how tight he's holding it. So again, here you see how he's supporting all this weight. He isn't really stabilized, right? This is okay if you're standing still, but if you tried to run or move while holding it like this, it's going to be really difficult to control. Get that stock back behind the bicep. The level of the suppressor is ideal. This is really good here because you can push straight back out to shoot. However, just having a little bit more control. Again, roll the gun. See, it's kind of up and down, right? So let's say at 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock, he needs to roll it over to where it's 3 o'clock and the mag well is at the 9 o'clock. It's going to help him reload faster. Alright, he uses his thumb, so kudos on that. Very fast. He's faster than the slapping. And he immediately has control of it. He pushes it out. He has kind of a wonky grip there. His hand is moving just a little bit. I wonder if he can get that pec further out, right? If he's got a pad or switch and have his hand out a little bit. He's a little bit compressed there. But he needs to hold the rifle in tight. Also, you see that finger right there? That could cause a malfunction if that finger goes too close and covers that ejection port too much. But holding it in tight, let's watch it under slow-mo. Let's watch all the play. See that shock is going through him. Want to pull it in tight. Roll it shoulder forward, drive it forward a little bit against the stock.
Shooters, stand by.
So see how this tall, lanky guy is really choked up on here? It's because he's got this ACOG, right? So what he needs to do is extend the stock. It'll give him some leverage against it, and then drive his head forwards towards the rifle. He is way undercompressed. His arms are bent under 90 degrees, right? It's just not a good fit for him. So he wants to lengthen the rifle a little bit so it fits him better. Just standing a little bit taller, squatting a little bit too much, lean a little bit more forward. So you see that movement of the stock, right? It's going to make the barrel go out and back in. Yeah, again, not a fan of the slap. Otherwise, solid reload that you could do behind cover. I would never do that out in the open because you're not going to be standing still. All right, so these groups are pretty terrible, right? At this distance, even the distances that they were shooting, and using an LPVO, you really should have tighter groups than this. This is a show of looking center, having height over bore. I'm guessing these are different distances, kind of trending low, height over bore. But to me, this is very unacceptable. I mean, I would be trying to keep it in the 9 ring at the most for like rapid fire, right? So thinking like half an A zone, 6 by 6 inches. That was a good hit, right? Again, he's not accounting for height over bore. Someone's not coaching him that at this distance, you need to aim up here somewhere to hit center. Very common though. So it comes more straight up versus the other guy who had it kind of rolled over on its side. Still moving his head down a little bit. Isn't as bad as that other guy. He's still there. See all this exposed stock right here. All this exposed stock. Try to get your shoulder shrugged up and forwards and get that butt plate all up in your shoulder, right? It's right here to think about where it's at, right? Is if you're worrying about kit and things like that. Folks will say, oh, put it on your chest or whatever. No, it's not. And face your plates to the target. First of all, you're in a 360 environment. If you go with the intention of trying to face your plates at the target, I mean, that is such a nuanced perspective that's really not going to work because you can get hit from any angle. So the best thing is to do is have the better shooting technique so that way you're a more effective gunfighter versus assuming you're going to know what angle you're going to stand at to take direct hits to your plate, right? So point being is get the good shooting stance. You got to move around your kit. I understand that. The best way to do this is if you feel your shoulder right here where the joint is, it's like where your clavicle and the top of your humerus meets, and there's like a ball joint right here. It's kind of like if you press the front of your shoulder, it's like a hard spot. That's where you want to have the stock. It's not on your arm, it's on your shoulder, and slightly like starting to get on like your pec meat, right? And that's a really hard spot for that stock to sit there and be pressed against. Hold it tight, minimizes the movement, right? So let's look at a lot of movement, but super bad, but it could always be better. All right. Not too bad. He's one of the better shooters that I've seen so far. It's probably because of the mustache. that gas soot.
Send drill.
All right, so this guy, I like the enthusiasm here. You can always tell guys who are like more into the shooting on their own, maybe. He's got the tape, which is really common now. The grip tape, the tactical grip tape, or whatever it's called. The cocky tape is what I use with my handguns. Gives you that extra grip. The pec is out of the way. I'd like to see where his stock is. And using these old flight gloves. I don't remember these. These aren't too bad. Yeah, so not a lot of movement, right? Pretty good technique, just based on what I can see. He probably trains on his own. You kind of tell.
Execute. Weapon up, weapon up.
All right, here, right, weapon is up and out of the way. Tuck that bitch in. As he's getting here, he can go ahead and start laying out the rifle and getting it ready to be braced against the barricade. I'm trying to see which way his hand's going. So he's using the back of his hand. What if he needs to do is turn his hand so his palm is facing the target, C-clamp the stock, and then use the rest of his hand to press against this. So what he can do here is take his palm, face it outboard, right? C-clamp the forend, and press the palm against the barrier. He could choke up to the left corner here. That way he could use this part, which is obviously not going to bend like this is, for a more stable position. So try to use your barrier as much as you can. It'll give you a really, really stable place to shoot from. See all that play. He's the guy with the loose grip, and with this cardboard buckling like it is, it's not going to be that stable. This guy's doing good. Like, you see his gun's not moving a whole bunch. Let's go back to this guy. Watch him again. Yeah, so he's shooting pretty good. His stock is a little high, right? You definitely want to try it. If you keep it at his height with his head up and everything, head position's pretty good. Just bring that shoulder up and wrap it so that way it hits the back of the stock and fill as much of that space as possible. But overall, stock is all the way out, driving his head forward, arms are at 90 degrees, right? He's pulling in, not a lot of movement with the gun, it's just kind of just moving back and forth a little bit. There's no distinct like movement or whatever. So this is like nice consistent shooting grip, and I like this. This is probably one of your better examples to pay attention to here. Yeah, and he's not struggling to walk very much. Now, let's see his shots. How good are his shots, right? Because you can always look cool as fuck doing this, but when you look at the targets, that's a tell of the tape as far as what you were doing. Did it look good, but was it actually good? Yeah, I don't know what the point of this is here. I would not be standing in the doorway like this. I would want to shoot everything from way further back and not be standing in the doorway, especially with my muzzle going in the doorway. And then basically you're sitting in the fatal funnel. I don't know what this is supposed to simulate.
Oh shit, something's hard.
Alright, this guy, again, pretty good. Against roll that shoulder up, push it against it. It'll be even that more stable. Go ahead and get the full grip. Like, you know, I understand this in the sense that, like, it's like a style thing almost. But grip the motherfucker and pull into your shoulder. So let's watch the setup with this guy. Let's talk about some issues with how he's got the configuration of his rifle. Notice something's going to pop off here. Alright, he's got this, and I don't know if this is the battery compartment that's come out or whatever, I don't know, but you know, making sure your stuff is torqued down right. Stock is too close in, and then it's got his optic. It's a little far back, you want to have it either no further back than the charging handle or just a little bit in front. Why? Because you need space for your hand to get down in there to run that charging handle. If you minimize the space, you're wearing gloves and shit, you get the iron sights, you're not going to be able to get this charging handle really well. So stock out all the way, right, drive your head more forwards, and move this optic forwards a space or two to where the back of the optic is in line with the charging handle. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. You know, I like watching these videos of Marines training and stuff. It's just good motivating content, and it's always fun to watch and kind of glean what they're doing, and then just make observations. And you know, these are just, you know, if I was there working with these guys, these are the things that I would say. These adjustments that you could do to make you that much more effective. So like, subscribe, maybe in the comments, tell me what you think about these rifle setups. You know, the aesthetic, the build, how heavy you think they are. You know, would you want more of like the lightweight M4, even though it's kind of an older kind of style, or would you want one of these HKs with the big chunky rails and stocks? You know, this little lightweight bad boy, or do you want the big heavy boy? Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.